Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? So thanks for joining. As I said, we're here to talk about Blink and our ability to connect all of your employees across all of your application tech stack in a modern way to drive a better experience while driving down costs and improving productivity. My name's Marcy Patterson. I run our solution consulting team here at Blink. I'm going to kick off the session. I'm going to do a bit of an overview, couple of slides, just introducing who we are and what we provide. I'll then jump into a demonstration. I'll be doing a live demonstration of our product and capabilities. We'll drill into some use cases about how we're sort of creating that intelligence experience layer for customers across verticals. Some of the verticals we are typically working in include manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and hospitality, but we have a broad breadth of vertical applications for sure. Later in the session, and that doesn't mean hours, this should probably run maybe 35 to 40 minutes total, depending on how many questions there are at the end. But I'll be joined by Adrian Euler, who is our head of CS here, our head of customer service here in the US, as well as Harriet Davey, who's one of our solution architects in our UK office. So I am going to leave some time for both Adrian to talk a little bit about some of the customers and their experience with Blink, and then Harriet can answer any technical questions that might come up as we go along. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. As I said, I'm going to start by just giving you an overview of who we are. So Blink is a communications and engagement layer that drives employee interaction, culture, and inclusivity across your employee base. And I mention inclusivity because we have traditionally and deliberately focused on organizations with a large deskless or frontline workforce, many of whom have no digital connection to the organization they work for. Oftentimes, they don't even have an email address. So we're delivering a modern, social, immersive experience that's mobile first and out of the box. And while we focus on the front line, we're also providing that comms and engagement layer for desk-based employees through, again, a modern social intranet experience. And it's really just a desk-based experience of that same mobile app. And that's important because it's not a separate application or a disjointed solution. It's a single application that an employee can use whether they're at a desktop or on a manufacturing plant floor or at home trying to sign up for benefits. And our customers view Blink as a way to connect and engage with their employees, but then leverage that connection to drive additional use cases, whether those are operational use cases or employee self-service. It's sort of, now that I have your attention, and quite frankly, we know how to get their attention, how else can I improve your work life by making things easier? It's why I mentioned earlier sort of immersive. Our customers' employees are opening Blink an average of 7 times a day, and our desk-based customers are setting Blink as their default homepage. So you're not just communicating and engaging with your employees, you're driving real change in behavior because you're doing all of this business transformation improvement. But how meaningful is that if your employees aren't actually engaging with them? And building on that experience through our partnerships with companies like Workday and ServiceNow can really supercharge that value. This ability to streamline interaction with your enterprise technology stack through a simple, seamless experience. And again, I'm going to say this a few times because it's important. It's out of the box. This is all configuration based, but you're able to abstract the complexity of those back office systems while plugging your employees into the business process transformation initiatives that, again, are driving that meaningful change to your business. And I want to acknowledge that there are complexities in this equation. Here's a list of them: compensatory concerns, identity and security implications. An effort like this is often cross-functional, so trying to get alignment across the organization. These can all be tricky things to accomplish, but frankly, these are the obstacles we deal with every day. And our customers have found Blink to be the foundational component to solving those challenges at scale and at an accelerated pace. And there's just a few numbers there that talk to how successful Blink is in helping our customers achieve their goals around employee engagement. And then finally, once the foundation is in place, we can really become an enabling function to deliver ongoing additional value. As you look to deliver on your AI agentic use cases across your existing tech stack, and understanding that many of those vendors are sort of coming at AI in different ways, how can you sort of rationalize that interaction with your employee base as you look to deliver on those different use cases? And that's something with Blink as the consistent experience layer. It can deliver on those use cases with honestly a very low lift, and also at quite frankly, a much lower cost. And last slide, we are making a splash in the market. We recently landed on the Gartner Magic Quadrant in the challenger space, which we're thrilled about because what we're trying to do is challenge the status quo when it comes to engaging your entire workforce. So again, please use the chat, use the Q&A. I'll rely on my team here to let me know if there's anything interesting that's coming in, but I'm going to switch and actually pull up a demo of Blink and we'll go through it. And of course, I timed out while I'm talking. And I'm just going to come over here so you don't have to look at the top of my head. Oops, I'm going to share. Okay. So what you're seeing now is Blink on the mobile, and we can, of course, run Blink on a mobile device. It's an iOS and Android native application. It can also be run on tablets, kiosks, and also from the desktop. And we have a very modern social feel that's been intentionally designed to mimic the applications that employees are likely using every day in their personal lives. And I talk about modern and social. At the top here, you can see stories. So a lot of flexibility here on what you want to roll out and what you don't want to roll out. But stories is a great way of driving that engagement and also, again, sort of that immersion. We find that employees really love to share stories. And what we're seeing with our customers, that stories become sort of a social aspect of the platform and allowing the rest of the feed to be more operational. So as I come down, you can see Blink is leveraged for top-down communications. I can do visual polls, I can manage surveys, I can send content from my CEO or my comms team, all in a very fresh and modern way. Additionally, Blink has chat. It's native chat capability built on the platform. I spoke earlier of frontline employees who might not even have email. We know these employees are leveraging chat to connect with each other and their managers, even if you're not providing them a corporate chat solution. Blink allows these employees to connect without needing to share mobile phone numbers and ensuring that if an employee leaves the company, they're no longer part of any of these chat groups. We also provide native voice and video on the platform, in addition to providing sort of a team concept. So these could be my organizational teams, or these could be communities that I choose to join and engage with. And then finally, from a core component perspective, we have the hub. And that's where employees can get access to third-party systems. They can find content and policies that they need to manage their work. And it's the integration of these different components, the feed, chat, and the hub, where this really starts to come to life. And I'm going to show you some examples here, particularly focused on some of that integration with ServiceNow and with Workday. And obviously the webinar today talked about ServiceNow, talked about HRIS, because this could be Zendesk and SuccessFactors. We've created a framework for third-party integration, which I'm going to demonstrate today, leveraging ServiceNow, because we do know a lot of our customers are ServiceNow customers and also Workday customers, which is why, of course, we chose to create those partnerships in the first place. But let me talk about this starting in terms of search. So as an employee, perhaps I want to do a password reset. And I can go to my search bar and search for password. And that's going to look across Blink and show me any examples that are returned. But it's also going to do a federated search into ServiceNow. So what I'm seeing here are these ServiceNow knowledge base articles talking about password. But perhaps as a frontline employee, I'm not exactly sure what to do with that knowledge-based article, and I just want to get some help. So how do I approach that? I could ask IT, and this could actually render a ServiceNow form right here, as we're doing with, if I just click request password. That's actually going to bring up the ServiceNow record producer and allow me to enter that information about my password reset. And then you've got automation on the back end that's going to take care of this for me, and then add a note in my feed that tells me that that case has been created or that case has been resolved. So we're using the third-party access to give quick and easy access to the functions that a particular employee wants to act on. And to be clear, this is all personalized based on my role, based on my location. So what I see from a quick link perspective, what I see from a quick action perspective, peoples and policies, this is all based on me. And it's very easy for you to configure who has access to what based foundationally on the teams that we're managing, likely based on your HR or your ServiceNow data. We really try to reduce the lift on user and group management in Blink by leveraging the information you're collecting elsewhere. So I asked for a password request, and that came in, and I see in my smart alerts. So this is sort of what I like to call enhanced notification. Again, I noted earlier that a lot of your frontline employees don't even have email addresses. So if they ask for something, how are they notified that something's been done in support of that request? That's one of the things we're taking advantage of here in Blink. The other thing you'll notice is I could actually just access that ServiceNow virtual agent right from here as well. Now, that was all ServiceNow specific. We can do the same thing with Workday as an example. So if you see in yellow, I have my learning. This is going to bring me into Workday, but instead of just bringing me into Workday generically, it's bringing me right into the learning section of Workday. Look, these are small things. This is what we call function fencing, but it's meaningful to a user who's not used to enterprise technology and is not necessarily used to going into a learning management platform and figuring out what courses they have to take. So we're bringing them directly to that learning, and then again, we're using the feed to notify them when they have a new learning that they need to take, and then they can click on View in Workday, and just like I did, go directly to that training module in Workday. So I'm sure a lot of you have standard security and compliance training that your employees need to take. I'd be super curious as to how well your reach is in getting that security and compliance training done in a timely fashion, particularly for those of you who have a large frontline workforce. So that talks to a lot of the capabilities. I want to just talk about one other thing, and then we'll bring Adrian in and talk a little bit more about some customer stories. So you're seeing we're leveraging across the platform, the feed, chats, and the hub. Additionally, we're bringing that all together through our smart search. And this is actually in beta to be transparent. But again, as you think about those AI use cases, and then you think about your enterprise tech stack and how you're engaging with that tech stack, a lot of the process flows that you're automating are likely going across those different tech stacks. And so how is that going to appear, and how does a frontline worker engage with that? What we're doing here is making it super context aware. So if I go in to ask about annual leave, it's going to prompt me with what it thinks is probably what I'm looking for based on all of the other questions and actions that have been taken before. So it says, hi, Alan, you have 16 days of holiday remaining. 12 have been taken, 28 allowance, 3 have been carried over. Holidays 4 days away, and I can actually book time off right from here, and that will walk me through the book time off process, which may be integrated with Workday on the back end, or may be integrated with ServiceNow on the back end. As a user, I don't care. I just want to actually book my time off. So we're moving from a phase perspective where perhaps I'm using search to find password. Perhaps I'm clicking my virtual agent and asking for a password to be reset, or perhaps I'm coming into Smart Search and saying locked out, and it's going to say, great, let's go ahead and reset your password. And it will walk me through that in a very conversational way. And this is sort of a maturity level that we can get to, but you need to start with this foundation. And by making the foundation communications enabled, you drive much higher engagement so that as you transmit these changes on the back end, you're going to get much higher reach and engagement from the front end. All right, let me just make sure I've covered everything I want to. I think I did. Let's go ahead and stop with the demo, and let's bring Adrian in. Adrian, that was... Hold on, let me bring myself back too. Adrian, I know as head of customer success here in the US, you work with our customers on a daily basis. And as we both know, a lot of those customers are both ServiceNow customers and Workday customers, in addition to being Blink customers. Do you want to just talk a little bit about one of our large enterprise customers that's sort of leveraging Blink as that intelligent experience layer across Workday and ServiceNow?
Absolutely. So as you've kind of teed up for me, we work with a large US-based healthcare organization that pre-Blink had a pretty, I would say, classic or typical kind of frontline challenge. Most of their workforce did not have corporate email or company-issued devices. They mostly work in silos, so they might be on the road, they might be in patients' homes. And there was really no easy way for employees to access the key systems they needed throughout the day or week. They had no way to communicate with one another. And from an organizational perspective, there wasn't really a channel for them to build or reinforce their company culture. And as a result of all of those factors, their frontline retention was a significant issue, and actually, in particular, in the first 90 days. From a technical perspective, as you mentioned, they are a Workday and ServiceNow customer, but their tech stack kind of beyond those systems is pretty complex given the nature of their work. So different roles, different regions need access to different tools. And Blink as a solution really helped bring everything together. So it gave them one place where every frontline employee can get the right systems and resources based on who they are and where they work. And because of Blink's robust analytics offerings, which you can see in this slide and in the following slide as well, they can actually see what people are using. So what's working, where they might need to focus their adoption or enablement efforts, where they might need to run some campaigns via Blink to boost awareness and training on how to use certain systems. And this kind of analytics piece of it has really helped them make smarter decisions and manage change in a much more data-driven and informed way.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, Adrian, when we were looking at this particular graphic earlier. This particular organization you said is complex, and it looks like they have 3 or 4 different pay providers depending on the geography in the US. Is that right?
That's correct. And the type of role they have. So hourly versus salaried. Yeah.
Interesting. And, you know, I've been with Blink for about 3 years, but as I work with more enterprise organizations, I'm always amazed by sort of the complexity of those systems and the fact that they do have multiple payroll providers. I know we've also seen that a lot of organizations are changing payroll providers on the fly. And so having that intelligent experience layer where a lot of that change management is really abstracted from the frontline worker, but you can, again, use the feed as a communications mechanism to manage that change. Would you suggest that that's what this particular customer is experiencing on a regular basis, sort of that combination of the hub as the single access point and then the feed as the mechanism for communication, and how's that working?
Absolutely. So yeah, I would say in general across our customer base, this type of complexity and what we see in the hub is not uncommon. And both across the customer base and speaking specifically about this customer, the feed has been a key driver for change management. As you kind of mentioned earlier when you were talking, this workforce, our often frontline workforces, aren't super familiar with how enterprise technology functions and how to use it and feel comfortable using it. So the feed has been in the hub as a supplemental tool, a really key resource to promote training materials. They do a lot of video content, which they have found actually through our analytics to be the most effective way of communicating with the front line. So they'll kind of they'll have local leaders actually walk through using different systems to ensure that caregivers on the front line really feel comfortable with navigating through these different systems and using them effectively.
Yeah, super interesting. I know one of the other interesting stories is we showed a little bit of a few screenshots earlier. One of them was McDonald's, who is a Blink customer and a ServiceNow customer. And I know that McDonald's is doing a tremendous amount of digital transformation on the back end. They're also a complex organization. They have a lot of franchised owned stores as well as company owned stores. So managing service delivery across that complex workplace, but then also allowing them to sort of plug in that frontline worker into some of this digital transformation, which can be hard to do if you don't have sort of this engagement layer to be able to create that. And I love the fact that this particular healthcare organization that you've talked about has sort of seen that transition from becoming a communications and engagement tool to be really an enabler of a lot of other initiatives that they're looking to drive across the organization. Adrian, I know that this one in particular also saw significant impact on just sort of retention and turnover. Turnover tends to be a challenge in frontline focused organizations. Can you just talk a little bit about what they saw? I know we're not attributing it all to Blink, but we did see some fairly impressive returns on attrition and retention, did we not?
Absolutely. So since implementing Blink, they've seen an over 20% decrease in turnover, annual turnover specifically. And as you know, not 100% attributed to Blink, but the platform is a key driver for basically every initiative that they run with ServiceNow. So their leadership is that Blink is kind of a meaningful driver and contributor to that positive change. And we can see that too in the engagement data. They're interacting with internal communications on the feed, how they're chatting with one another. That has all informed and driven that transformation.
Great. Thank you, Ada. And bring in Harriet, and we'll just take a few questions from the field. And hi, Harriet. Thanks for joining.
Sure. Hi. Good afternoon or good morning to the US.
So have a couple of questions here. And sorry, let me just go to my accepted. How are users authenticated? What's the identity provider? So I think this is talking about, how do we know who the employees are? Are we managing? I talked a little bit about this, but I think, Harriet, you had teed up a slide perhaps anticipating this question. Do you want to just talk a little bit about, user provisioning, authentication, however you want to approach that question?
Yeah, sure. So we do have a variety of options that we would always consult a customer on to make sure that we're picking the best automated, scalable, and also available solution for them. So a lot of the kind of core solutions that we go with regards to user provisioning, I'm just kind of waiting for the screen here so it'll bring it to life. There we go. So this shows it here. So the top line there, SCIM 2.0. So we have built endpoints for user provisioning and team provisioning. And that basically allows for a global standard of secure user provisioning across APIs. So very automated approach. And we guide customers on how to utilize our endpoints. And we can do that from really any source system that also supports SCIM. So we successfully do that with the big kind of very familiar identity and access management products such as Entra, Okta, Google, but we can also successfully do it with some of the smaller identity and access management products, so the likes of SailPoint. And with that, we help kind of guide our customers on doing that. And from very basic API calls on an automated basis, you can manage your joiner, leaver, and mover process. So super slick, super simple, and easy to use. And the second is where customers don't necessarily have those IAM products that support SCIM 2.0, and we can utilize a secure SFTP protocol. So I won't get too technical on today's call, but the other option we have with customers where they say they have small teams and not necessarily the ability to mobilize quickly with IT departments is we have our out-of-the-box UI capability to just manually upload a CSV file with user data. So lots of options to get customer data and user data into Blink.
Great. And you mentioned Entra. I just pulled up this quick slide. Harriet, I don't know if you want to sort of talk about accessing those third-party applications like Workday, like ServiceNow, and just the optionality that we have to support that.
Yeah, sure. Actually, that's a good point as well. With regards to user provisioning, we've invested time as a Workday premium partner to really support a seamless approach for our customers across those two platforms. So our Workday connector actually allows for us to pull data into Blink without needing to use the SCIM 2.0 or SFTP process. The connector that we've built allows for us across those two systems to share data in a seamless and secure manner. So customers that have their HRIS data sitting within Workday, we would always advise that they use our Workday connector out of the box. So that's a good point there and a good reminder there, Marcy. And then the screen you're seeing here, this is associated to our capability that we call the outbound single sign-on approach. So the ability to click and connect third-party applications utilizing Blink as a digital front door. And under the hood, that uses SAML 2.0. I won't get too technical today on today's webinar, but there's a very secure protocol we use under the hood there, which allows Blink to act as identity provider, or customers that have the likes of the large IAM products such as Entra or Okta. We can also support that is the way that your users are authenticating into those third-party systems. So yeah, lots of optionality. As a solutions architect here at Blink, I support with the art of the possible discussions with a lot of our customers, and we make sure that we land on a solution that works for them.
Perfect. I have another question here, Harriet, that's going to go to you, and I know is timely because I've been watching our Blink chat over the last couple of days. But one of our participants is asking, how do you confirm that a non-exempt rep has clocked in? Actually, that wasn't the one I meant for you. Sorry, I'm going back up. Can this be restricted to be used within mobile device management, for example, Intune? That was the one I meant for you.
Yes. So we use app config as a standard that allows us to basically support any real mobile device management product. Intune's the one that we see most customers come with. So yes, we can support that. And we also support the conditional access policies that the likes of a Microsoft or another identity and access management product might put on Blink as an application within their enterprise ecosystem. With that as well, we've supported with product enhanced capabilities to make that seamless when you're rolling out Blink across majority of shared or corporate devices. So we have some customers who are large retailers that have got thousands of corporate devices that they need to support Blink being rolled out on. And so we have we call it MDM Lite, which basically means a product capability that we've got now as Blink to support rolling out different versions across different device types.
Yep, because, and this actually brings us to the next question. So it's an interesting topic. For us at Blink, I would say the majority of our customers are asking their employees to download Blink on a personal mobile device. So while some of those customers do choose to layer in a mobile device management solution, we do also know that there can be some friction there when you ask employees to do that. So there's a number of different ways to approach that, which sort of ties into this next question. How do you confirm that a non-exempt employee has clocked in before allowing them to access the app. We could integrate with your clocking system and enable that. We also find that most of our customers manage this through policy. So when you originally install Blink, you're able to display a specific policy for your organization that talks to what the expected usage is. And most customers do not make it mandatory. So while we're encouraging usage, and you saw earlier some of the, over 80% adoption rates, it's not generally made mandatory, both because of compensatory concerns and because of the personal mobile device. What we do recommend is that if it's not mandatory, you do give access to employees to some of this information, either through a kiosk or perhaps through digital signage, depending on the structure and type of employee base that you're managing. We could and would love, we work with a lot of time providers like ADP, like UKG, like Ceridian Dayforce. And we have talked about doing a stronger integration where we could actually know if you are clocked in or clocked out. There hasn't actually been a customer who's decided to approach it in that sort of compliant a way, at least to date. Harriet, feel free to jump in if you want to add anything to that.
No, definitely agree. I would just say a lot of the use cases we find customers are actually wanting us to support, and we have supported, is via our APIs, having notifications from those third-party systems service within Blink, which gives information to the user when they're utilizing Blink. But obviously, then we do have to have a fine line from a corporate policy perspective as well. But as you say, when it's come to rolling out Blink, we haven't had a customer really demand that yet as a requirement.
Yeah. Okay, I have another question here. We have a company app that completes many of our unique needs around commissions, alerts for breaks, etc. Do you have any current customers that have integrated your app into their own, I'm going to assume, custom app? I'm going to say yes and no. Adrian was sharing a particular customer story around a large healthcare organization who has a number of apps that their users are expected to leverage. I don't know that one of them is a custom company app, but they are still using Blink as sort of that digital front door. Again, I can't help myself. I have to be super transparent. Our ability to launch a mobile app from a mobile app can depend on that other mobile app. If it's a custom app, then perhaps we can get your developers to look at recognizing that it's being launched and not asking the user to download it each time. So it can be a little finicky to set up that mobile to mobile launch, but it's certainly doable as long as your app has some type of connectivity that we can access. Again, Harriet, anything to add there?
No, perfect. I think the thing we would say when we're looking for a solution is, as you said, Blink has out-of-the-box capability to support with tech extensibility, and that's across our APIs, the ability to embed devices via iframe and WebView, and also the ability to create micro apps from the hub. So we have those capabilities out of the box. What we can't control is what the third party wants to do. So as you said, Marcy, where we have a customer who wants to bring a use case that involves a third party app, we have to work in conjunction with them and partner with them to make that work. A lot of the time we will look to use connectors or secure architecture to pass data across the two, but we can both pull and transform and load data and also push data. So there's always options there when it comes to integrations.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I don't see any more questions, but if you don't mind, for those of you on the phone, and I'm sure you've filled out the polls, but I would be interested in your feedback. Look, I know that ServiceNow has a toolkit for creating some of these experiences. We certainly know that Microsoft has a toolkit for creating some of these experiences. Our experience and our customers' experience is that, first of all, that can be a lot of build. And second of all, it tends to get pushed to the bottom of the list. And so you're not necessarily creating a compelling experience, particularly for these users at the front line. And so Blink, I mentioned earlier, really lightweight, all out of the box, can be a great way to sort of put that communications layer in place, and again, abstract some of the complexity that's going on in the back office from the folks who are looking to deliver a meaningful experience to the broader employee base. I would love to just hear from you as to whether or not that makes sense. What would some of your concerns be around approaching? I know we do hear from some other customers, from some prospects. Another app is the answer to this, and yes, actually, another app is the answer to this. But we would certainly love to hear from you if you have any comments on the content that was delivered today. Seems like a pretty quiet group. How do we do from a poll perspective? Fewer tickets, faster resolution, limited access due to email or system requirements seems to be some of the things that we're hearing. Don't use ServiceNow, but are exploring it. Just here for some good insight. So it seems like we have a broad breadth of folks on the phone today. All right, well, that was all we had for content. So if nobody chooses to chat with me today, I'm going to have to let you go. Thanks for joining. We have a recording of this that we can share. And if you have any comments, you want a deeper dive demo, please reach out. We'd love to connect with you. And thanks.
Thank you.